evening, I'm Saraya Mia. This is AWANI Tonight. We take a deep dive into the Malaysian economic outlook and whether a recession is looming. That's coming up on the show tonight. The government agrees to declassify the Governance, Procurement and Finance Investigation Committee's report on the Littoral Combat Ship or LCS project. Prime Minister Datuk Seri Ismail Sabri Yaakob says the government views the issue seriously, adding that the Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission MACC has been ordered to expedite its probe. The report by the committee, which was chaired by former Auditor General Amrin Buang, will be made available to the public. Ismail said that the cabinet has also proposed the declassification of the 2019 forensic report on the project, though the matter first requires the advice and insight of the Attorney General and Auditor General. He said the cabinet's decision today would not disrupt the mobilization process under the LCS project recovery plan, which the cabinet had agreed to proceed with on April 20th. Meanwhile, the Armed Forces Pension Fund LTAT CEO Dato' Asmat Nazim Abdul Rahman assured the construction of the LCS is in progress at the Lumut shipyard. He also clarified why 6 billion ringgit was paid for the project when the first 5 ships were only 55% complete.
He said the amount was spent on a bulk order of equipment to build the 6 vessels and that a huge portion of the expenditure was for the basic and detailed design that the France-based naval group came up with. Nazim said 9 billion ringgit for 6 ships under the original contract meant the price of one ship is roughly 1.5 billion ringgit, cheaper than what other countries have spent on LCS vessels. On Monday, Senior Defence Minister Datuk Seri Hishamuddin Hussein said the LCS built by the Baustedt Naval Shipyard Sendirian Berhad should be ready no later than 2 years from now. The Parliamentary Public Accounts Committee last week revealed that not a single ship had been completed, despite billions of ringgit already paid out, and that cost overruns totaling 1.4 billion ringgit was diverted for other purposes. The LCS project, the largest procurement in MINDEF history, began in 2013 with a 10-year time frame. 6 LCS ships were expected to be built and delivered by the end of 2023. Since the reveal, there have been growing calls by lawmakers and MPs to set up a Royal Commission of Inquiry to look into the alleged mishandling of the project.
Amendments to the Employment Act that will see weekly working hours reduced from 48 to 45 hours will be enforced from September 1st. Deputy Human Resources Minister Dato' Awang Hashim says the amendments are to safeguard the workers' welfare in line with the International Labour Organization Convention. The amendments also allow employees to apply for flexible working arrangements with their respective employers. Employers will then have a period of 60 days to reject or accept the employee's application in writing. Asked on the government's stance on 4 working days a week, Awang added that there was currently no proposal or engagement to set 4 working days per week at the ministry level. 7 Malaysian firms made this year's Forbes Asian Best Under $1 Billion list. The list highlights 200 Asia-Pacific public companies with sales under $1 billion.
The top 3 Malaysian firms in terms of total sales were Kim Long Resources, UG Healthcare and DNO Green Technologies, all with sales of more than $200 million. The remaining 4 on the list are V-Trucks Corporation Berhad, Great Tech Technology, Tashin Holdings and CE Technology. Last year, 11 Malaysian companies made it to the list.
We'll go for a quick break. Stay with us.
Maggi cukup rasa dengan bawang segar dan rempah ratus lazatkan lagi masakan kita. Supaya lebih yakin mencuba resepi baru, malah ada yang mula berniaga. Berani cuba, rasa hasilnya.
COVID-19 memperlihatkan kepada kita betapa pantasnya adaptasi teknologi di kalangan PKS kita. Niaga AWANI dan Unify Business akan menyelami perjalanan kebangkitan semula PKS kita melalui segmen Jiwa SME setiap Selasa dan Khamis untuk inspirasi anda.
Transformasikan perniagaan dengan Unify Business, rakan digital pilihan anda. Hubungi kami sekarang dan jimat sehingga 50%. Jom Unify Business.
Welcome back. The global economy is facing an increasingly gloomy outlook amid rising inflation, supply chain disruptions, and the Russia-Ukraine conflict. Malaysia will not be spared from its impacts. Dr. Juwita Muhammad from the Institute of Democracy and Economic Affairs discusses where the country's economy is headed.
You see stalling growth in the US, in China, and also in the Eurozone. So again, this is something that will impact us as a small open economy. And especially as an exporting country, we do feel that Malaysia will be impacted, especially when the US is introducing higher OPR rates. There will be reduced household purchasing power, and tighter monetary policy, again, will drive growth down to about 2.3% and about 1% next year. So despite slowing activity, again, this is again coupled with global inflation, and this is again due to the rising food prices like we have seen in Malaysia, and also energy prices hikes. So again, unfortunately, we are anticipating higher inflation rates in the advanced economies of up to 6.6%. But looking at emerging markets and developing economies, the inflation rate might go as high as 9.5% in the coming months. So again, this, would reflect the cost of pressure from disrupted supply chains, and again, the tightening of labor markets. So all of this factors play a role in how a small open economy like Malaysia will absorb the impact. So we do need to brace ourselves from the anticipated slowdown in global growth and global demand in the next coming months or so.
With the world's 3 largest economies stalling, Juwita highlights some measures Malaysia should take to safeguard the economy and society.
Continuous upskilling and also upgrading of talents is very much needed in the digital economy. And this is where the government, again, has done a lot of work on TVET. I do understand that a lot of work, a lot of resources has been poured into preparing or onboarding MSMEs into digital platforms. But again, there needs to be some sort of monitoring and also assessments on how well these training packages are in terms of not just onboarding businesses, but also in, having awareness on data protection acts, having awareness with other cybersecurity issues, for example. So it shouldn't be just to aim to onboard MSMEs, but these programs should go even further beyond that for, again, sustainability, and also to ensure that MSMEs are competitive enough to not just enter the digital platforms and digital economy, but to stay there as long as they can.
She adds that the government must also look into further developing the country's social protection system.
We do see that, again, there's a lack of continuity with the cash transfer programs, with, again, not much assessment or monitoring on the impacts it has on vulnerable households and targeted households. I think at the end of the day, as workers are going back into work, and I feel that, again, as a small open economy, we're very much again open to and vulnerable to the global trends. This is where I feel that local workers and workers in Malaysia in general need to be empowered, and we can do so. The government can do so by allowing again, workers through workers and trade associations to bargain for a better pay, for example, or a better non-wage packages. This is, again, very much the characteristics of a developed country. So we do need to be thinking about that. We do need to be thinking about inclusivity in terms of social protection, especially when Malaysia is going into the path of becoming an aging society in the next 2 decades or so.
Meanwhile, economist Dr. Carmelo Ferlito suggests for the country to shift its economic growth model to not just rely on consumer spending, but to focus on saving and investments.
This means slowing down of the economy for the way in which we are used to measure the economy. But it is also an occasion somehow to restructure the way in which we conceive our growth model. If you look at the past years, Malaysian economy has recorded growth mainly because of consumer spending and government spending, while private investments have always remained a bit behind. So while consumption are a positive element of the GDP, they also bring in problems. So we know that we have an issue with inflation that has been created with excess of money supply, and somehow the consumption that restarted when the economy was reopened also contributed to further create price tensions. So while what is happening is a source of concern, mainly because I don't see price tension and inflationary pressures as something very temporary. On the other side, there can be an occasion to try to allow the economy to restructure toward a different model, which is more centered on saving and on saving as a source for investment.
On the international front, China issued a white paper laying out how it intends to claim Taiwan through a range of economic incentives and military pressure. It reaffirmed that it would take the self-ruled island by force if necessary.
The paper, which states China will tolerate no foreign interference in Taiwan, comes days after it held military drills around the island. However, it adds that China will only be forced to take drastic measures to respond to the provocation of separatist elements or external forces. China last issued white papers on Taiwan in 1993 and 2000. At the time, it said it would not send troops or administrative personnel to be based in Taiwan after achieving unification. That line, meant to assure Taiwan it would enjoy autonomy after becoming a special administrative region of China, did not appear in the latest white paper.
Meanwhile, torrential rain in the capital of Seoul has left at least 9 dead and 7 others missing. The rain that began on Monday is the heaviest since South Korea's weather observations began 115 years ago. The Gangnam district was particularly hard hit, with cars left half submerged. Landslide warnings have also been issued in more than 30 cities and towns across the country. South Korea's weather agency forecast 10 to 30 centimeters of rain in the nation's southern regions through Thursday. Cleanup and recovery efforts are underway, with nearly 3,000 government workers and dozens of excavators and dump trucks deployed. Japan's Prime Minister Fumio Kishida reshuffled his cabinet today amid a slump in approval ratings. Among the high-profile replacements is Nobuo Kishi, the brother of the assassinated former leader Shinzo Abe, as defense minister. Some key cabinet members, such as the foreign and finance ministers, held on to their posts, while some ministers linked to the Unification Church were removed. This comes after a growing public backlash over the ruling party ties to the controversial group. Latest surveys reveal that Kishida's support fell to 46% from 59% just 3 weeks ago, the lowest rating since he became prime minister. Shinzo Abe's suspected killer admitted that his mother was a Unification Church member, bankrupted by donating to it, and blamed Abe for promoting the group. As the number of monkeypox cases continue to rise globally, is it just a matter of time before Malaysia reports our first confirmed case? If so, are we prepared? Tonight on Consider This, we speak to our guests about responding to the monkeypox outbreak. That is all we have for you on AWANI tonight. Thank you for watching. I'll see you again tomorrow.